Welcome to the Small Business Blueprint, a podcast for local business owners who are looking to reach sustainable growth. In each episode, you'll hear directly from small business owners and leaders who have navigated the changes and setbacks that outline their unique blueprint to small business success. So join us to learn how you can turn their stories into actionable steps to transform your business into an established brand in your community.
Welcome into the Small Business Blueprint Podcast. This is Alex, and we have today some people I'm very excited to talk to. As a new pet owner myself, we are talking to both Rudy and Anthony Rey, and they are professional pet groomers who started not only a podcast, the Groomer Humor, on Pet Life Radio, but they also are small business owners, which is, of course, why we're having them on. Rudy and Anthony, how are we doing this evening?
We are fantastic. Thanks for having us, Alex.
Yep. Doing great, man. Awesome to be
Living
here.
a dream.
Awesome. Really, the first place for us to start. I know, Rudy, you are the one that mostly runs the business side of things as a pet groomer. That industry is absolutely blowing up right now. Not only because people love their pets, it's always been a very good business to be in, especially once you get yourself established. But within the last year and a half with the pandemic, as more and more people have become pet owners, it's just grown by leaps and bounds. How long have you guys had your small business, and what's it been like over the last year and a half in a very, very fast and competitive growing space?
Yeah. So I've been grooming for about 35 years. I started very young. I was maybe, I think, 19 years old when I started. But from it's leaps and bounds from what it was. Anthony has been working with me since he's 11. So he's just been around the business his entire life. I used to bring him to the store, as a kid. So he knows how to handle dogs. But to answer your question from the business standpoint, groomers and pet care professionals, not just groomers, rescue workers, vets, I think are really finding out how important we are. But in particular, groomers. In the past, groomers have kind of been, I don't know, maybe underestimated in what we do, as far as like people think it's easy, and it's anything but. It's a very, very difficult job, and with the pandemic, we have found out how necessary we really are. And so in the past year and a half, grooming businesses have just gone nuts. I mean, there's literally a line out the door. I mean, most groomers are booked at least 6 to 8 weeks in advance right now.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, we've had a massive influx in new pet owners, a massive influx in just new pets in general. During the pandemic, people had more time, they had the energy, they had the ability to have pets in their home, and they generally wouldn't have been able to do that before. When you started the business, what was the biggest challenge you had, especially in such a competitive space, getting the business up and off the ground and being as successful for as long as you all have?
Yeah, one of the biggest challenges you have is actually just kind of acquiring enough customers to give you a base, where you have some job security. It's difficult because a lot of times grooming's like a one-off. Somebody will come in and you won't see them again, or they'll just try you out once or twice. So I think in grooming in particular, the one of the biggest challenges is getting that repeat customer. So you really have to be on point. If you get a
Mhm.
new customer, you really want to do a good job and make sure that the dog feels real comfortable, and moreover the customer feels real comfortable. You want to gain their trust. It's a big trust issue between the customer and the dog itself. But once you establish a good clientele and you have that every 6 week customer coming in, it makes for a great business. Mm, so, mm.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have any tips or tricks on what you've done over the years to keep that customer retention coming at a level that keeps your business flowing in a positive manner?
Yeah, I think one of the tips is patience. You have to have a lot of patience because dog owners, pet owners are they love their pets. They're part of the family, and And it's a big teaching process too, because okay, so say you have a dog that's getting groomed every 6 to 8 weeks. It's kind of like you and I going to the dentist. If you didn't brush your teeth for 6 months, your teeth would be put pretty, racked up by the time you went in for your cleaning. So you really, I think, you have to teach people how to
Right.
actually groom their dog in between. And that's a challenge, because no matter how many times you try to explain how to brush properly, or clean ears, sometimes they don't get it for a while. But you just keep hammering away and teaching people. Yeah.
Awesome. I mean, it's totally true. In that business, there's so many little things that can go wrong during the course of an appointment. How do you guys keep yourself on point with all of that? And how many people do you work with on a daily basis? Not only within employees that are within the groomer, but also the amount of clients that you're seeing. I guess clients.
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah,
what else
sure.
to really call them
No, yeah, they're
on
clients.
a daily basis.
Hmm. You want to go on this, Ant? Maybe.
How m-
Anthony.
Well, we let's see. Yeah. We do let's see. We don't really deal with employees because it's just me and my dad. But you're dealing with at least, what do we do a day, Dad?
It's
7,
7,
8 we
8.
try to
That's a
do.
busy day.
Um so yeah, so that's 7, 8 dog parents, and they're all just as crazy as we are.
Yep. Yeah.
And they're hard to keep up with. They want certain things, but I mean, we're very fortunate. Our customers are extremely just 9 times out of 10 lovely people to deal with. But yeah, as far as the rest, it's very stressful. It's hard to keep it all together in one day because, like you said, so much can go wrong in one appointment, and I think that's where you do gain your loyal clientele, is by not having accidents. Because if you're professional enough and you take the right steps toward safety, you won't have accidents. There's always exceptions,
Yeah.
anything could happen, but the less accidents, the better, obviously. And yeah,
Yeah.
the safer you are, the more professional you are. People are going to see that on you. And be kind. Be
Yeah.
kind. Understand that this is a lot for the dogs to even understand the
Yeah.
concept.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
In terms of being in the pet industry, sales in 2020 surpassed $100 billion for the first time ever
Hmm.
across the entire pet
Wow.
industry. In your experience, was this a win for the pet grooming business, or were there any negative impacts that came from this, potentially by even people grooming their pets at home?
It- you know, it- People grooming their pets at home is actually a really good thing, believe it or not, uh, because what happens is they really learn the professionalism of a dog groomer, because not anybody, but most people
Mhm.
that try to groom their pets at home realize quickly how difficult it is. So you could do certain things at home. You might be able to brush, clean ears, but when it comes down to like haircuts, or doing intense work, shave downs, or um, hair styled haircuts, you really need a professional dog groomer for that. So as far as the money, what you said, the statistic, what did you say? 100. How many? How much money was that you said? Um,
A hu- yeah, $100 billion in
a
sales across the
hundred.
entire pet industry in 2020
You know,
for the
I
first.
I'm not too sure groomers are seeing a whole lot of that. Groomers are doing well, but I'm not, and I would like groomers to be, get a better chunk of that change, really. And it's part of why we do what we do on our YouTube channel and on our podcast. We're groomer advocates, and we feel honestly that groomers should be seeing a little bit more of that money.
Absolutely. And now that you've touched on it, you all do have a podcast, Groomer Humor on Pet Life Radio. How did that idea come about? Were you all sitting around one day and realized that was there was an opportunity there to dive into that podcast space? How did the idea of a podcast
The
come about?
the story is actually pretty amazing, and it's a very it's a beautiful story. When Anthony was born, he he was born in '89. Anthony, were you born December 12th? Right, you're my son. I'm supposed to remember this. But anyway,
Yeah, December 12th.
we met a yeah we met a
Yeah, you're
gentleman.
supposed to know that,
I'm
but
supposed to know this. We met a guy named Mark Winter, who also we shared our the room with him because he had a child that day also. So we met him, and we hadn't spoken to Mark Winter in maybe 30 years, and then all of a sudden we reconnected, and he has this huge network called Pet Life Radio, and ironically we became dog groomers. So we connected and started a grooming podcast with Mark Winter and Pet Life Radio. So we've known Mark basically all of our lives, and Pet Life Radio is probably, I think it's the number one pet radio going right now as far as what we know. But yeah, we just connected with an old friend, and Anthony being working with me, we decided to just do the father son team and do our podcast.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Getting into this business is always a little tricky, and just having that contact that really helped you guys out is, and just how those connections led the way to this is very cool.
Yeah.
If someone wanted to listen to your podcast, where would they be able to find it?
they can just go on petliferadio.com/groomer humor. You could Google us, Groomer Humor, Pet Life Radio. We leave links. We have a YouTube channel as well, so all of our stuff is linked through there too. But yeah, petliferadio.com/groomer humor is the easiest way to find us.
Yeah, and our
Okay, very cool.
our YouTube channel is Grooming by Rudy. It's a different name, but yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
basic spelling on all that
Sure.
as well. No,
Yep.
no crazy spellings or anything.
Nope, no underscores or anything like that.
Nice. Keep it easy. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
And if you don't mind my asking, Rudy, how did you get into this business of pet grooming? Was it something that just you kind of stumbled into? How did you get into this industry from the beginning?
Okay. Well, yeah, that's a great question. I grew up in Elizabeth, New Jersey. So pretty tough city to grow up in. And as a young child, obviously, growing up in a city, you're kind of susceptible to a lot of bad things, drugs, alcohol, stuff like that. So to be honest with you, in my early teens, I was pretty much a full-fledged drug addict, and unfortunately I was definitely hanging with the wrong crowd. But the one thing that saved me was a black lab that I had, and his name was Nookie, and he was the only thing that I trusted at that time at such a young age. And I used to clip his nails and clean his ears. But long story short, I got really, really depressed one summer when I was about 19 years old. And I was like, I was done. I was done with friends. I was done hanging out, doing all that disco partying and stuff like that. And I decided to just go to dog grooming school. So I went to Nash Academy of Animal Arts in Cliffside Park, and it was like a 6-month course, and that's all I did the rest of my life. I just fell right into it, and I knew it was for me. I just wanted to be around dogs and animals because I'm just a true animal lover. But yeah, it just stemmed from something bad, but something great came of it.
Yeah, as most good things typically do.
Sure.
They generally start in either a dark place or a bad place, but
Yeah.
it generally leads to something much bigger and better than
Yeah, it
that.
saved my life.
Since you have been in this industry, oh, I can absolutely believe it.
Mhm.
Since you have been in this industry as long as you have, you've seen all the technological changes that have come along with it. Have you all been able to follow along with that and adapt and get into the mobile grooming aspect of things? Where do you see some of these technological advancements going since you have been in this business as long as you have?
It's funny. We were actually just slightly talking about this earlier today. that there are some technological advances in this industry that are very gimmicky. Um, such as we heard about this tub. It just seems so ridiculous. Maybe it's awesome. I
It's
don't
an
know, but
automatic
it's
bathing
like
system. I don't
this like automatic tub that yeah. Yeah, an automatic bathing system that you put a dog in, and I don't even understand it. Like it fills up with water, and the soap is automatic. You can't do it that way. So there's technological advances like that are just, oh, come on, stop it. Like this is hand to dog professional trade that you need to know. A machine can't do this. But then on the flip, but to what you're saying, there are technological advances in clippers and
Yeah, the
equipment
equipment.
that are very, very good. So even yeah, the shears are better. Certain clippers are better. Um, Shampoos have come so far. There's oatmeal, medicated, like just so many great things that can help, that we've seen help dogs' skin. Um, Things like that that have just come leaps and bounds, I'm sure, from the stuff that used to be used way before we were into it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, Rudy, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think one of the advancements, big advancement, is just doing this networking, networking with, like, podcasts like yours, and just YouTube, people just doing DIY videos. So networking and really just
Hmm.
getting the knowledge out there. I think that's the main advancement. But all the other stuff is kind of just, like Anthony was saying, it's pretty gimmicky. You still have to groom the dog, but I think networking with other groomers, other podcasters, that's where I see things going, and people just learning. People want knowledge. People want and where we're at
Yeah,
now. I mean, knowledge is just so important, and we're just happy that dog grooming's a part of it. You know?
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, and that leads me to my next question perfectly. In that pursuit of knowledge, what would you recommend to someone who is let's say, a new pet owner, and is maybe even a little skeptical of using a pet groomer? What are some of the benefits of using a pet groomer versus, like you said, trying to DIY everything at home?
Yeah.
What would you recommend, and what are the benefits of
Mhm.
bringing your dog or your pet into a groomer?
Okay. Well, it really depends on what type of breed dog you have. So if you have a low maintenance breed of dog,
Okay.
maybe like Ray, your new puppy, border collie's not, and lab mix, that's not the highest maintenance of dogs. So it's really something you would be able to do at home. Um, but if you have something like a golden doodle or a labradoodle, it will get out of hand real quick on you. So if you have a high maintenance dog, a Shih Tzu, a Bichon, a Maltese, a Poodle, a Golden Doodle, even a Cavalier Spaniel would fall under that. You're really going to need help with a dog like that. So higher maintenance breeds, what you really want to do is, number one, you want to start them young. You want to start them no later than 4 months.
Hmm.
You really want to start them young. And when looking for
Okay.
yeah, when looking for a groomer, do your research. You have to do your research. Because anybody can call themselves a dog groomer. You don't really need to be licensed in most states. But so what you're looking for is certification at least. You want to visit with the groomer. You want to check out their shop, their cleanliness. You really want to feel out their personality more than anything. Is this somebody you would trust with your dog? And really try to find someone who's reputable, and usually word of mouth. If you see, if you're walking in the park and
Hmm.
you see a really well groomed dog, you might want to ask, hey, where do you get your dog groomed? Dog looks happy. Yeah, and really use your intuition, and try to find someone who's trustworthy. Yeah.
Absolutely, that's wonderful advice. Is
Yeah.
there in states that are licensed where you do need a license in order to operate, is there anything that you would recommend to, number one, the business owner on how to get that licensing and to make sure that they're up to code and up to speed on everything? And number two, for a potential client, is there anything to look for, like licensing on the wall, like most vets have, and most doctors have, that they'll have their doctorate up on the wall, proving, I do know what I'm talking about. Is there something similar that people should look for pet groomers, and then as well for someone who wants to own a pet grooming shop? How do they go about getting that certification?
The certifications, I kind of like anything else, are dependent on where you're at. So as far as that,
Right.
I don't want to give anybody the wrong advice on that, where one state might require one thing and then another state will require something different. But exactly to what you said, as a customer, look for that certification on the wall, or ask, because any groomer, if you simply ask them where they went to grooming school, if they didn't go to grooming school, they are not going to have a single idea of what to tell you. They're gonna, and you'll see their mind race and everything. You ask my dad in a second, he was like, "Oh, Nash, like that's where he went." Like groomers just know. So it not necessarily that if you're self-taught, that's always a bad thing. But if that is what you're looking for, if you're looking for somebody who's certified and everything, yeah, look for those certifications. Most groomers should do that anyway. And you should be proud of it. You hang it up on the wall. Why not? Like, you let your customers see, because it does help them feel. This is very difficult for people. You have to give us your dog for the day, and trust that we're going to give it back to you in one piece. So,
Right.
of course, anything we can do to calm your nerves as the pet owner, groomers should do. Absolutely.
Okay, that's excellent advice. I love every bit of that. My last question for you, in terms of in this endeavor of seeking more knowledge, what is the number one piece of advice you would give to anybody that is looking to open up a pet grooming shop right now?
Get educated. Learn how to groom properly. And go to grooming school, or some kind of education. Learn how to do it. Don't just think you can just do it willy-nilly. You really do need to figure out how to learn and do it properly. That would be my number one. And start slowly. Don't think you're gonna go up there and do 10 dogs a day right off the bat. You want to learn this craft very slowly, and learn proper dog handling. But go to grooming school. That would be my number one advice. Go to grooming school.
Okay,
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that. Make sure that make sure that you actually know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Is usually a
Yeah.
very good place to
Yeah,
start.
like
good start.
Anthony said, the certification part is actually much more important than, say, the licensing. You know what I mean? Because the licensing it's really, it's just a state run program. It doesn't necessarily make you a good dog groomer. So you want that certification.
For sure.
Yeah.
My very last question for you, touching back on the podcast that you all have, of course, again, Groomer Humor, you can find it on Pet Life Radio. Who is the best guest you guys have had on your show, and why was this person the best guest that you guys had on the show?
Ooh.
Oh
That's a
boy,
toughie.
man, we're gonna get a lot of slack for that one.
Okay. But I do have an answer, because I'm not going to say that she was the best as terms of like, just, oh, we loved talking to her and nobody else. But I would say our first guest ever was this woman named Amy, this dog groomer who was all the way from the UK, and just best in terms of experience for me and my dad, because it was so early on in our podcast. You have a podcast, Alex. You understand the craziness that goes through your head as somebody. You're putting a word out there. People are listening, or at the beginning not listening, and you kind of feel a little silly, and or what. I'm not telling you anything you don't know, and so we get this. We get in contact through our YouTube channel, Grooming by Rudy. We get in contact with somebody from the UK, and she gets on the Skype call, and she has the accent going, and me and my dad have no idea, like, really even what to say.
Yeah, it was our first
And
guest.
just for me anyway, that I'll always remember. Yeah, she was our first ever guest. She was so sweet. And I'll personally, I will never forget my first guest ever.
Yeah, and she made it real easy. She made it easy to
That's a great.
Yeah.
Of course, I love that. It's a great answer. It's always hard to forget your first anything that you do. So, especially with something like a podcast, it's always so hard to forget that first guest that you
Of
had.
course.
And I always love telling this story too of just how weird it is to do something like this.
Mhm.
I got into this I used to host a radio show, an internet-based radio show, and I was on from 2 to 4 a.m. And it was really hard to book guests from 2 to 4 a.m. So generally I would sit there and talk to myself for literally an hour and a half.
Right.
I would play music and talk to
Yeah.
myself in my parents' basement at the time.
Yeah.
So it was
There you go.
that if you can do that, you're probably cut out for podcasting. And if you don't know if you're cut out for it, go try it at home and see how it feels. And
Yeah.
if it feels weird, maybe you're not cut out to
Right.
do something like this.
Well, you know what?
Clearly you were. Look at you now.
Congratulations, Alex. You're great. You're great. So yeah, it's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Anthony, Rudy, thank you so much for joining us on the Small Business Blueprint podcast. Again, you can find the podcast Groomer Humor on Pet Life Radio. Where else can people find it? Is it like available on iTunes or on on all the podcasting platforms? Where else can people
Yes.
find your podcast?
Yep, it's available everywhere. iTunes, Spotify. Sorry. Last I heard, anyway. Our producer, Mark Winter, he does all that. But yeah, you could find it anywhere. You could also, we also encourage people to look at our YouTube channel. That's Grooming by Rudy on YouTube, because as far as the DIY stuff, which is getting very popular and is necessary in a lot of cases, we do a lot of things on there. We love meshing the two. So you could also find Groomer Humor episodes. We try to post every episode on our YouTube channel, along with, videos, instructional tutorials and tips and tricks and stuff like that. So yeah, Grooming by Rudy on YouTube and petliferadio.com/Groomer Humor, Spotify, iTunes. It should be all there.
I love it. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you,
And
Alex.
we will hopefully talk to you all very, very soon.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Small Business Blueprint. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow along on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app. This podcast is brought to you by GoSite, an all-in-one platform that makes it easier for your customers to find, book, and pay for your services online instantly. Get started for free at GoSite.com.